everyone, welcome to Kelsey's Kitchen. My name's Kelsey and I'll be your guys' host. And tonight we're going to go ahead and be making a ham steak with a little bit of sweetness to it. We're going to add brown sugar and pineapple. So first I'm going to start off by letting you guys know what we need for tonight's meal. You guys are going to go ahead and need a cookie sheet to put the ham on, a strainer for the mashed potatoes on the sides, a masher, a large knife, a measuring cup, as well as a large pot we're going to make some homemade potatoes, and another pot for the asparagus. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you the ingredients that we're going to need for tonight. So the ingredients for tonight is going to be potatoes, asparagus, garlic salt, ground pepper, brown sugar, pineapple, and a ham steak. Alright, so if you guys are ready, let's get started. The first thing we're going to go ahead and do is turn on the oven and preheat it to 350. The next thing we're going to do is go ahead and fill up our pots with water so we can start getting them boiled. So go ahead and take your guys' measuring cup, and for the big pot here, we're going to put 8 cups in this one here. And for the smaller one, we're going to do 6. Alright, once you have put all of the water into the pots, go ahead and add a little bit of salt and turn the burners on high. Once you've put the ham steak onto the plate, we're going to add brown sugar to the top of it. When you do it, just kind of sprinkle it all over the top, kind of like a glaze, and just make sure that it's evenly spread out throughout the entire ham steak. Once you're done with your ham steak, it should look a little bit like this. See how the brown sugar is spread out all the way to the edges? And then once we put the pineapple on top, that brown sugar is really going to add to the flavor of the pineapple and the tenderness of the ham steak itself. For this next section, I just want to caution everybody that because we are using such a big knife, be very careful not to hurt yourself. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the pineapple and lay it down, and the first thing we're going to do is chop off the top of it. Once you've cut off the top, go ahead and take the pineapple and we're going to lay it down on the side that you cut off. This way we have a flat surface, so while you're trying to cut off all of this outer shell, it'll be flat and it won't be moving around on you so you don't cut yourself. Now as you can see, I went ahead and took off the outer layer here by just cutting it off of the side, kind of like similar to peeling a cucumber, but it's just going to be a little bit tougher. And then we're going to continue to do this to the rest of the pineapple. Once your pineapple has been completely trimmed of all its outside layer, we're going to just go ahead and cut them into slices all along the edge, so just straight down. And you'll get a piece like this. Once you've cut all your slices, we're going to go ahead and take them and we're going to cut out the core in the middle. This is how each slice should look when you're done. Once you've finished cutting all your pieces, just go ahead and take them and lay them on top of your ham steak, just like this. When you're finished with your pineapple, be sure to take some saran wrap or a Ziploc baggie and just go ahead and store the pineapple, because you probably didn't use all of it. And we don't want to throw it away, because tomorrow I'm going to show you guys a video on how to make smoothies, and the rest of this pineapple will do perfect for our smoothies. Now that our steak is all ready, we're going to go ahead and take it and put it into the oven. Now earlier, don't forget you should have preheated it to 350, so when you open it up, make sure that the heat's nice and warm and the oven's actually on, because trust me, I've made that mistake before. And then go ahead and put your ham steak into the oven. Once you've put your ham steak into the oven, check on the time. It's about 5:35 now, and I just want to keep track of that in my mind, so that way I can keep track of how long the ham steak has been in there and if it's cooked all the way through. But don't just go by the time, you also want to go by how it looks and if it's cooked all the way through. Always be sure, don't rely on just the time. Use your eyes. The next thing we're going to do is chop up our potatoes for the mashed potatoes so we can throw them in our boiling water, and we're also going to chop off the ends of the asparagus. So go ahead and take your potato and just cut off the ends like so, and then put it upright, and then we're going to cut it right down the middle. Now, I personally like to leave the skin on the potato because it's more nutritious for you. And then when we mash it up all together, you can't tell. And this way you get all the nutrients from the whole potato, and it tastes the same as regular potatoes. Next step, we're going to go ahead and just cut little pieces here. And then once you've done that, we're going to go ahead and take it and cut it in half, so that you get little triangle pieces like this. We're going to do this for all of our potatoes. Alright, once you've cut up all your potatoes, we're going to go ahead and put them into the bigger pot that has the 8 cups of water in it. So you can go ahead and just drop those in. Next, we're going to do the asparagus. Now, the asparagus are much easier because we're just going to chop off the ends. You see how they have some of these purple and white ends at the bottom? Those aren't very good to eat. So you want to just go about maybe an inch or 2 up. So again, kind of your finger from your thumb here to your nail. You can do about 1, 2. So about 2 inches. Once you've done that, we'll take all these and we're going to throw them into the other pot that you put 6 cups of water in. Once you've put all of your stuff into the pots, I personally like to add a little bit of butter into the water to cook with the asparagus because it adds to the flavor. Now, I'm just going to talk to you guys again about the difference between margarine and butter, because in my last video, it was my first one and the music was playing a little bit too loud and it kind of drowned out some of the information. So, I just want to let you guys know that the difference between margarine and butter is margarine is made with olive oil or vegetable oil, and butter is made with cream and milk. Now, it doesn't usually matter which one you use unless for baking. If you're going to be baking, I suggest you use real butter because it adds to the flakiness and tenderness, and it won't allow for the cookies to spread out and stick to the pan like margarine does. If you do decide to use margarine, make sure that it's more than 80%. So that way that you don't have that sticking problem. And you can always identify the difference between the margarine and butters because all the margarines will say on the bottom of the box here that they have their percentage of vegetable oil. Now that we've gone over that, since we're not really baking anything or creating any sauce, I'm just going to go ahead and use the regular margarine and put about 2 spoonfuls in with the asparagus. Now that our food is all cooking, we have a few minutes, I just want to remind you guys about the charity for the month. This month, I have chosen Project Angel Food, which is a local LA County charity that takes homemade meals and takes them to critical ill patients. So that way, you know, they can actually have some nice, decent meals while they're sick so that hopefully they'll recover sooner. And if they are at a point where they may not recover, at least they'll get some really good cooking that's been cooked with love and appreciation for them. So you guys can go onto my website and make donations. There's a link on my YouTube. You can just highlight it up in the description and copy it and paste it into the URL, and it should take you straight to my website, which is inside kelseys.my-free.website. Now, all of our food is cooking, so just be sure to stir the asparagus and stir the mashed potatoes so that none of them stick to the bottom of the pan. Those potatoes are really starting to smell good. Now check to make sure they're done. Just take a fork and then we're going to go ahead and kind of stab one of the potatoes and just see if it goes through it easily or if it's kind of hard. Now these are still a little bit hard to push through, so they need to cook a little bit longer. So now that we've waited for a little bit longer, we're going to go ahead and check the potatoes again. Alright, and they seem to be really good. They're going to be cooked well, and the way that you can tell is when you stab them and pick them up, they're actually cooked so well I can't even get one. But as you stab it and pick it up, it should be really easy for it to just kind of fall apart. See how it fell off there? And that's exactly what we want it to look like. So next what we're going to do is we're going to drain the potatoes and the asparagus. We're going to take our strainer, and I like to save on dishes, so I just use one strainer. And we're going to do the asparagus first because the potatoes kind of have that starchiness to it that'll stick to the pan. When we put the asparagus in here, it just kind of goes through the water I rinse it out, and then do the mashed potatoes, okay? All right, so now that we've strained both of our sides, we're going to go ahead and take our masher, and you should have put the potatoes back in the pot they were in that you boiled them in. And we're going to take the masher and we're just going to start mashing everything up in here. When you're done mashing, your potatoes should look a little something like this. Once they're all mashed, you can go ahead and take the margarine butter. And the reason that we're going to use the margarine is because it is healthier for you than regular butter. And like I said earlier, we're not really baking and we don't need anything to be fluffy. So it's best to use the margarine for your health, especially for mashed potatoes. Because if you like to add sour cream and green onions like I do, you're already loading on quite a bit of calories. So go ahead and just put in a couple of spoonfuls of butter, or margarine, excuse me. Once you've put about 4 tablespoons of butter, so just a little spoonful, we're going to go ahead and take the garlic salt and add garlic salt in here. Along with a little black pepper. And then go ahead and just take the spoon that you used to put the butter in there and mix everything all together. Be sure to take the oven mitt holders to hold the pan, because even though you think there's no hot water in there and it's not that hot, put your hand on there, you might burn your hand. Once you're finished, your potatoes are going to look like this. See how they're nice and fluffy and buttery and garlicky and mashed all together? And you're going to just leave those on the stove because those are going to be all done. And now we're going to move over to the asparagus. Now the asparagus are pretty easy. We're going to do pretty much the same thing as we did with the potatoes, but we're not going to add butter. We're just going to sprinkle a little bit of garlic salt and a little pepper over the top of it to add some flavor to our asparagus. Once you've completed all this, be sure to check on your ham and see how it's doing. Let's take a look. Now the ham looks like it's doing pretty good, but it could be cooked for just a little bit longer. So we're going to go ahead and put it back in the oven for about 10 more minutes. Alright everyone, now you can go ahead and take your ham steak out. Now be sure not to burn your fingers and use all of the proper cooking material. And once you bring it out, it'll look like this. And voila! Now you have yourself a delicious home-cooked meal. We have our homemade mashed potatoes, our ham and brown sugar pineapple, and asparagus. Thank you for watching, everybody, and I hope you guys have a great night. Bye!